welcome to
Good.
the Baltimore chapter.
Thank
I know you're on
you.
Texas time, so
I've heard of.
since we're running a little behind, we'll let you roll with it. If you have any presentations, I'll give you
Oh,
access to share them.
you know who I just connected with is Doc Medich. Has anyone heard of him?
I've heard the name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was
Oh
with
yeah.
us at 77 medical school. So oh my gosh, there's so much to chat about. Where do I start? Ask me a question.
Well, do your brief introduction, and then we'll let people roll.
Okay. All I've known is baseball. That book is wrong. I know that book. I know that they have wrong information. My book, you have a copy of my book there? My father joined Charlie in June of '62, and that's what I've known my whole life. And I was at games in Kansas City, but I was really little. Actually, Harry Truman sat next to me, and my mother was on the other side. Hello, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just took my video off.
Oh, okay. No, that book is okay. I say that about every book except mine. So, but the basics are correct. And I was in the stadium. I remember when a helicopter came in, and I was afraid. And Truman was trying to make me feel better, and it had Satchel Paige. I didn't know who he was at the time. I remember a man getting off, and there was a nurse, and there was a rocking chair in our dugout because we sat very close to the dugout. And my mother would sit next to Aunt Shirley, Charlie's wife. This was Kansas City. So Kansas City seemed just like this. Looking back, it was a big Disneyland. That's what I would call it. Colors everywhere, petting zoo, dyed sheep, Harvey coming up out of the ground. My dad started showing me repeats of a movie called Francis the Talking Mule. Before we had the mascot, I understood why when I got older. And then I remember the Beatles. I had to be in quarantine because I had scarlet fever, but my mom wanted to be there. So they had me in an office laying down, and Dad and Charlie were in the reception area with the Beatles before they performed. And I heard them, but I did not understand what they were. But I remember hearing ladies screaming in a different way than fans normally sounded. So I was concerned about that, but I had a high fever. All I could do was rest, but Mom was able to look out the window and watch it. And it was just, and then the mule, we got to be really good friends with the man who we kept the mule with, Howard Benjamin. And he gave me my own pony, and that was fun. And so I got to see, we took the mule all over the country when the team traveled. So recently on Facebook, I posted some pictures of the mule with Hawk Harrelson, right, trying to ride him. I respect Hawk for hanging on the way he did. I never got on that mule. He was too big. And so it was just a lot of fun. And then my parents divorced when we were toward the end of Kansas City. My mom never liked sports entertainment. And she used to say the team caused the divorce. So I had to move back to Dallas with her, and Dad was in Kansas City. And about 3 years later, Dad gained sole custody of me, and I was in Oakland within 48 hours. And that was just another experience, seeing the new Coliseum and meeting everyone. Most of the people were new, and then the hockey team next door. Dad took me to a few hockey games. It was right next door, but people weren't really interested in hockey at that time. So I just for my first time at a hockey game, but the A's started doing really well. And I remember that Dad said that's why Charlie bought the hockey team. He thought they had the Midas touch. But the A's, I remember all the attention we were getting. And I never knew how bad the A's were considered in Kansas City. To me, it was just great to be there and be with our guys. I called them my guys, but I was able to help Vita Blue organize his fan mail in '71. That was one of my jobs, and it was just fun to be a part of that. It took me a little while to understand what we were a part of, but I guess I just thought winning was something all teams did eventually. Um, but it was just a lot of fun to be part of. I do remember how different this Coliseum was. It didn't have the colors. We had the colors, but the Coliseum was mostly gray with the grass was great. But it was different. It was different. We didn't have family come out to Oakland. It just seemed like people thought it was too far, except for the World Series, and that got family out to Oakland. But it was interesting. Dad made taught me how to write a press release when I was 14, and it was just there was a lot of education. Looking back, a lot of education that went with it, and Dad had sort of a partnership with law enforcement in the area where he would invite them to games, and they weren't in uniform, and that helped with security a lot, looking back on it, because we didn't seem to have problems with security like I hear about now. But Dad ran everything. Their agreement was Dad would run the team on site so Charlie could be with his insurance company in Chicago. Charlie, that's where the money came from if we needed it. So the agreement was Dad would work on site. Dad wasn't too happy about Oakland, apparently, when we had to move, but that was the only place that was turnkey, from what I heard it described as. So that's where they went, but Dad always wanted to be in the Midwest somewhere. But we made the best of it. And I just remember it was different. At first, people didn't seem to be used to a mule like they were in the Midwest, but eventually the mule started drawing fans out to home games so they could have photo ops with him. And I was really sad when the mule died. That seemed to make a difference with the fan turnout too. That was their first year without the mule was '77. And it was that seemed to be a dark year for us. But we were rebuilding since Denver was out, and free agency came along. So Dad said they needed to rebuild sort of privately. And we were doing that. And the '81 playoffs was a big result of that. When I look at the roster, unfortunately, we had to sell. Dad actually talked Charlie into that at the time because of a lawsuit that happened in '79, and that's what led to the sale. A lot of books don't write it because they don't know it, and I can understand there's a lot of gray area in the late '70s simply because a lot of things have been said and the writers just don't know. So that's what I wanted to write about in my second book, is just explain the chronology of how that happened. And I still have that lawsuit. Um, we had it, Dad actually made sure it was dismissed later in 79, but that still gave him a sour taste. Dad was concerned that my safety was in jeopardy because people might think it's okay to harm a Finley, and we were the only ones physically in Oakland near the team. But it felt like Charlie wasn't really 100% for selling, and he could have sabotaged it at any time. So Dad was real concerned about that. Dad helped find the Haas family through his friend Cornell Meyer, and I have told some people that, hoping that it gets out. I think it has, but a lot of books say that Charlie ran everything in Chicago and in Oakland, and he did not. I don't even remember Charlie going into the office in Oakland on like you see people do. And Dad was there every morning. Dad met with the staff at 8 a.m. and the day started. So Charlie did it over the phone. Charlie would talk to Dad every morning and then throughout the day, but he talked to other people too. But he could not have run the team. He could not have done both. So that's what I read a lot of. It's like people make him have these superpowers, like he could do everything, and that's just not how it happened. So I was there until the sale at the end of 80, and then Dad was asked to stay and mentor the executives for a few more years, and then Dad retired full time at the beginning of 84 and was asked to be their historian, and he was on several radio shows answering questions, and then was part-time until about 92. So that was the history. And then Charlie started his football in the early 80s and promoted a new football with yellow stripes from end to end. And I have some of those, and he was really working hard to promote that and was hoping Dad would go in on it with him. But unfortunately, it didn't go anywhere. But I have all the letters he received from high schools and universities saying they were going to use it. So it was it was very interesting. Does anyone have any questions?
What's your question?
Hello.
Does anyone? Oh, I was talking. I realized it was all. Did you hear me?
Yes, you
Okay.
asked if anyone had any questions. I was in the process of unmuting myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't. Okay.
Okay. And by the way, your video's off now.
Okay.
At any rate, I wanted to say that I really, really enjoyed your book, Finley Ball.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a delightful read, and it was nice to hear a little bit about your father's involvement in the A's, which had certainly, as you say, been downplayed and not really. I mean, I'm a big baseball fan, and I didn't realize there was another Finley in the business until
Thank you. Yes, I
Ruth
know.
exposed that. And he was the general manager basically of the team, and it was really nice to understand
He was. You
what
would
his
never
role
hear.
was.
Yeah, Dad would never say, "Oh no, I'm the general manager." He knew how to work around with Charlie, and you let Charlie say what he wanted to say, and that's why they worked so well together, and they were that far apart too. 2,000 miles.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Well,
Yes,
and I
and
wanted to thank you for joining us
thank
and
you.
sharing
Thank
your stories.
I hope now, does anyone any questions? I made sure that everything I wrote, I had a source for and I could prove, so.
Yeah, hi.
Any-
I um talk about Charlie calling your dad every morning. Um, he had a reputation kind of like Steinbrenner at that time. Dick Williams didn't want to put up with it anymore. Tough
Mhm.
on managers, probably
Oh,
tough on
yeah,
other front office staff.
there's one
How did your
manager.
dad feel? Was he stressed out, or was the
Oh,
fact that they were brothers kind of
yeah.
eased Charlie up a little bit, or just taking a call from him every morning and knowing what
Dad,
I've heard about Charlie, how did that affect your dad? A lot of stress?
Dad was under stress, but not from the phone calls. In fact, Dad looked forward. I could tell Dad liked those calls because after Charlie passed away, he 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 became really depressed, and I know that it was just not having that communication. They had a relationship, and I think if they had to live together it would not have worked, but they could. I heard Dad on the phone a lot, and to me, I remember knowing that he was using reverse psychology, but I wondered why Charlie didn't pick up on that. But Dad knew how to get Charlie to do things a certain way, and Charlie didn't seem to know Dad was using psychology. But also, if Dad didn't want to do something, he just never came out and said it. He had his own way of dealing with Charlie. Plus, he could always predict what Charlie would say. He always would tell people how he would answer, and Charlie did. I don't know how he knew that, but they could
How
read.
about, yeah, 74. Charlie didn't make the annuity payment and as a result got for
Oh,
center became a free agent.
oh yeah.
Was you, do you know anything about what was
Oh,
going on
of
with
course.
that, or
I
your dad's involvement?
I know it well. Dad was often mad at Charlie for not sticking, not well, first of all, Charlie paid late a lot. He would wait till that 15th day or however long you're given. He was used to that. And I guess in insurance they do that. But Dad lectured him a lot about that and kept saying, it's going to come back to get you and you can't do this. Sure enough, but Dad quit in 71. I believe it was 71, because he was so angry. Well, Rick Monday's trade affected him because Rick was a good friend of Dad's, and then Charlie did not comply with some promises he'd made, and Dad had had enough of it. And then buying the hockey team and thinking Dad would be a partner just like that. No, no. So Dad quit and wrote a book about the 60s. And I found where Life magazine gave Dad a $9,000 advance if it was ever printed. But Charlie managed to get Dad back because everything was blowing up. But that was before Hunter happened. And Dad Dad's warning came true. Charlie just really thought he could push things. And Dad, he would say he understood, and then he would go back to his old ways. And now, did you notice that Billy Martin was the only manager Charlie never did that to, like late night calls or where Billy complained about it? That's because Dad made Charlie promise not to do that to Billy or go through him if he had something to say, or Dad was out of there. And Charlie knew to keep Dad happy when it was real. He knew when Dad was serious. And that was one time when he left Billy alone compared to the other managers. And Dad also was the one who went to the owners meeting to negotiate for Billy, not Charlie, because Charlie had tried that before and it hadn't worked out in the past. What am I looking at?
Who were some of your favorite players for the A's?
Oh, okay, I'll start with Campy. He's family. My daughter thinks he's a blood relative. Gosh, oh, gosh, my other Hunter, Blue, Green. Oh, Reggie, of course. Reggie ended up being a lot like Charlie.
Can you explain that?
Oh, financially, like, but just really strict financially, watched everything. Just it's interesting. I think they had a lot of respect for each other. And it was oh, also Charlie finally admitted that what happened with Hunter was a huge mistake, probably one of his biggest mistakes in baseball. He finally saw it, but yeah, that was in one of his later interviews. I hear something.
Guys have more questions for Nancy?
I like questions.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Could you talk about the attempt to sell players as free agency was coming in?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
And the back and forth between he and the
Oh.
commissioner on that.
Oh yes. In fact, a book needs to be written called Competitive Balance. I don't think I could write something like that, but that came out of the trial. This was after when free agency happened. Charlie said that he could tell that some of our players were going to be, he knew they were going to be free agents and want a lot of money. So I overheard him saying that we needed to trade Blue. Oh, Rudy. I'm trying to remember the other. Anyway, Kuhn blocked it.
Fingers.
And yeah. And then because of that, Charlie filed a suit, Finley versus Kuhn. It was December 76 in Chicago, and Jerome Holtzman covered that. Y'all know Jerome Holtzman, Chicago Sun?
Yes.
He did a book called The Commissioners, and he does a really good job describing that. He goes through every witness. And that is when a cause of action by Kuhn was called competitive balance, and no one had heard of it. And the other owners were brainstorming about what it meant. And one owner said, "This is not like bowling. This is not like bowling where you give a handicap." They were trying to figure it out, and that's when, around the time there was an owner meeting, and Kuhn made a comment that we kept winning, which there should be a way to stop it. And that competitive balance was something that hung around and stayed. And then I heard that C-League took it, and that's why they have the wild card and so many different levels of playoffs now. Has anyone heard that? Because I don't know for sure. I don't know enough about it.
Well, certainly one way to get more teams involved and increase the illusion of competitive balance is to just expand the playoffs, because
Right.
then you put these teams in short series against each other, and really anybody can win a 3-game series or a 4-game series.
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah, someone mentioned, oh, that would bring in a lot of ticket sales. So, yes, exactly. Because I've heard people criticize this now, and I've thought, well, it comes from that time. It comes from that trial. That's where the term was first heard. And then it's in scouting too, I hear it's used. I'm not quite sure how. Someone told me that it's similar to, I remember in school, our kids weren't allowed to do spelling bees anymore because someone might lose. That's how it was described. I don't know. It seems to be, you seem to have more teams who have trophies in some category. But I don't know. I would not know enough to write a book about it, but it certainly is something that says write about me, that term.
Even before the lawsuit, when Kuhn blocked the sale, Charlie and Kuhn really didn't like each other. Is that correct?
That is correct, except I don't think Charlie had anything against Kuhn. It's just that Kuhn seemed to be attacking a lot. Holtzman writes about that too. He says, in his opinion, he said that Kuhn seemed somewhat obsessed about Charlie. I don't know, but Kuhn did not like Charlie. He was fine with Dad. I actually, looking through Dad's things, I found that Kuhn sent a card when Dad passed away. I received a card from him, and I was really surprised, but I never heard anything about the two of them. Dad got along with so many people, but Kuhn just did not like something about Charlie that got to Kuhn. And I never really understood it, but I know they were just oil and vinegar.
Kuhn was not flamboyant. I could see him not liking Charlie's style.
Yes, yeah. And then Charlie might do something even more. If he knew someone didn't like that, he might go out of his way to be even more over the top. So that didn't help.
So Nancy, when you were with the A's, in 72, 73, 74, and that time,
Throughout
they
the
were
70s.
they were a powerhouse.
I know.
What do you think of the team now and this whole move from Oakland to Sacramento to Las Vegas? What's your reaction to that?
Well, I know several times that well, we made the best of Oakland. When I went to Oakland to live with Dad, he showed me around. He was so proud. He showed me Amelia Earhart Drive at the Oakland airport, and he just loved it there. But I could tell teams after us wanted to leave. Kuhn never liked Oakland, the thought of Oakland. And then I heard about some owners didn't want it known they wanted to leave, but they did. And then in 95, the limited revenue sharing started. And then I was hearing more and more about wanting to leave, wanting to leave. But what really happened, what made it horrible, was when the account was taken away from the Hyatt house. There was a Hyatt across the freeway called the Edgewater, and that's where everyone hung out. You could see Al Davis there. And when the players started staying in San Francisco, the Hyatt went out of business. And that was always the place you could go to lunch, dinner, and it was high end, and it was just right down the street from the airport. And I remember when they went out of business, that seemed to be when that area just collapsed. And it was really sad, but then that would give the owners a reason to want to leave, because look how bad it is. So it was sad to see that the Edgewater Hyatt was like, they would give me a room to stay in if I wanted to take a nap or something. I mean, that's where the visiting team stayed. That it was just a really, really upscale place. But the owners, the last time they went in for a meeting, they met very briefly and they were out of there. And I never understood what happened. That was too brief. Well, it didn't help that Oakland's new mayor, that her house was the FBI went in to, so it didn't help. There's corruption going on now with local politicians. But I've said they'll never have another team named Oakland. Any more questions?
Questions for Nancy? Nancy, the book comes out re-release next spring, correct?
Yes. Yes, I'm rewriting chapters. I've got to stop. I keep finding things in Dad's stuff that makes me want to rewrite.
When did the original come out?
March 2016.
16. Okay, so it'll be a 10-year version. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so I want to write about the mid 70s to late 70s and 80s. So this gives me, talking about it gives me good stuff. But also, yes, if you can read The Commissioners, that's really a well-written book by Holtzman.
Guys, have any other questions for Nancy? Either in the chat or speak one out.
Yeah, we talked about Reggie and Hunter, but Vita Blue.
Oh.
And a lot of people don't think Charlie treated Blue well, led to the holdout. Was your dad involved in any of that? Did he lecture Charlie? Anything you know about that?
We loved Vita Blue. Dad used to, there was a restaurant in Oakland Dad would take me to, and Vita would be there. See, Charlie didn't know Dad was meeting Vita like that. Vita was so good. He was young. Dad used to worry because in our parking lot, I called them men in black. I would see men in suits, and Dad would say, yeah, they want to tell our players what to do with their money. And Dad was always worried about that with our players. But it seemed like people were telling Vita, what he should do and his accomplishments. He was too good to be paid what he was. And yes, he needed to be paid more. Charlie was more like a father and could not stop thinking of Vita as a little kid. It was, Dad could see it, but Charlie kept thinking, oh, he needs to work a little harder or experience more of the world, like business. So that's what led to it. But I know Vita really appreciated what he went through with us. I know, because he would come by the Coliseum a lot, even when he wasn't with us. Vita was so good. I really miss him. Vita was a friend.
So Nancy, is the new book a revision of the old one, or is it like a sequel with updated, material that you didn't at all cover in the first book?
It's you can tell me. I want to go over the mid 70s to the late 70s, and then into some of the early 80s. And so it's what would you call that? It's a sequel. But then there are some parts that I don't mention or I've discovered since that I do talk about earlier, but I want to discuss how we were rebuilding. I do believe that if we had not moved or sold the team, we might have had the early 70s all over again in the 80s, because 81 reminded me of 71. But we had the strike, but you know, it seemed like we could have had a repeat. I know Reggie has mentioned that it would have been great if Reggie could have partnered with us. But it showed me how we could build. I was able to observe the building as I was older and see how we did it. Oh, by the way, the lawsuit we had served against us in 79, one cause of action said our roster was not up to MLB standards. And I would joke with Ricky Henderson because that was his year. And I would say, you know, you're part of the not up to MLB standards. I mean, that is ridiculous. I don't know how they were going to prove that, but we had it dismissed. But that's awful. Anyway, that was Dad thought Kuhn was part of that lawsuit. His name wasn't on it though. But how was the city going to prove that? Anyway, that was shocking. It hadn't been long before we had won all of our World Series. So that was really shocking. So when the A's moved this time, I said, well, if they haven't been served a lawsuit, then it's still not as bad as with us. But anyway, but thank you for having me.
Quick question, Nancy. What did your dad do after you retired?
Oh, he worked for, actually, he liked to take tests. He became an enrolled agent. Then he was working to take the California State Bar. And my husband got him involved as being a layperson in attorney-client fee disputes, and they really liked him in that. And then he worked for my husband as doing discovery in cases. And then Charlie wanted him to move back and live with him. And he said, no, I want to be with my daughter and her family. But Dad used to say that Charlie was very high maintenance. He didn't think the two of them living together would work out. So Charlie flew me back there in the 80s a couple of times. He was lonely. He was not speaking with his kids. He was estranged.
What year did your Uncle Charlie die?
Oh gosh, 96.
Okay.
And yeah, in the book also, I mention what happened with his things, like his will. And also I mentioned why Reggie chose the Yankees for the Hall of Fame. Just little things like that. But I mentioned Charlie's football. So just anyway, yeah, the 80s didn't really end it. It continued. But Charlie wanted to, he wanted me to get him on SNL like Steinbrenner was. And I felt bad that I didn't pursue that. I should have done that.
Guys, have any other questions for Nancy?
If anyone does, you can email me.
Yes, and you can also email her or reach her on Facebook. She's pretty responsive.
Thank you.
She's also
Nancy, will you be going to the convention next summer in Cleveland?
If I'm asked, yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm hoping to go next year. So
yeah.
So that way we can maybe talk in person.
That'd
So,
be great. Thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you for having me.
Thanks
all
for
right,
coming.
guys.
Like my
Thank you for
shirt,
coming.
like my shirt.
Can't see it.
Oh,
Video's off.
You turned your camera off.
oh,
Lower
saw
left
your
hand
ha-
corner is
saw
the
your
little
hat
video
earlier.
box.
yeah. This is the original. You see, it has our mascot.
We can't see it still.
Oh, this is what was on our World Series tickets. Yeah, I have it on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Well,
Thank you for coming.
we appreciate it. Hopefully some people got their questions answered, and
Yes.
we will regroup at the next meeting, guys. I can't believe it's already November. So we have one more babble at the end of this month, and then that takes a 3-month break. And if you check your emails tonight, we're already starting to plan our speakers for the first 5 months of next year. So I can confirm for the Peeps of the Peeb of February, we will be having Babe Ruth's grandson and great-grandson on that first Saturday, or excuse me, first Wednesday of February, which I believe might be the 4th of next year. So starting to line them up.
Thank
So
you.
if you have any
Thank you
questions,
for having me.
we appreciate it, Nancy, and everybody have a good night. And you guys know how to reach me if you have any questions or concerns.
Thank
And we'll
you.
see you all soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Happy
right, good night.
holidays.
Take care, everybody.